I was the chairman and CEO of the Me, Myself, and I Society. And God came second, or third, or fourth, or fifth. And then he started with angels. The first was Mary, and many that are else here. But one angel he sent that really without him, I wouldn't be standing here today. I really wouldn't. I love him to death. He's everything I wish I could be as a Christian, and I'm not. And he's, I know this is going to sound an oxymoron to some, but he's a Catholic lay evangelist. And to hear Catholic and evangelizing in the same sentence can throw people off at times. But he is very special. I've asked him to just speak on a few moments about what it means to be married and what it means to be in a Christian marriage. Thank you, Bill. That was very good. Thank you. Thank you. That was a joke. Give me a hand.
Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. As Peter said, my name is Bill Wegner. I'm here for the same reason that we're all here to honor Peter and Mary on their 30th anniversary. And here's how the rest of the night's going to go. All right. I'm going to speak to you for about 45 or 50 minutes, all right? And then I'm going to show slides of my summer vacation with my children, and then because I'm Catholic, we're going to take up a collection, all right? And you can all pretend to be Catholic and all put singles in it, all right? That's how that's going to go, all right? Does anybody have a problem with that? Because the last person who had a problem with that was Joe Klecko, and you see what happened to him. Peter asked me to say a few words about the importance and the sanctity of marriage. And it's when Peter asked me to do stuff like this, it's always a great blessing for me to be able to do that. What is marriage? Why is it so special? Well, some of us don't even understand that. But a Christian marriage is making a promise. A man and a woman making a promise, not before a priest or a minister. It's not even just in front of their family and friends, but their covenant and promise is between them and God. And they promise to the best of their ability to love one another, And here's the reality of that. In our society today, let's be honest, we don't really know what that word, and I don't mean necessarily us in the room, but we don't really know what that word love means. Is that not true? We don't get it. Whenever I go around and I speak, I ask a lot of people, I said, how many people here would like to be 12 or 13 again? Hardly anybody. You see, because those kids are going through stuff that we never experienced. Isn't that so? And young people today, they don't know what the word love means unless we're demonstrating it for them, especially in our relationships, in our marriage especially. And we've taken that word love and we've beaten it to death. We've beaten it. We use it for everything, don't we? In society, we use it for everything. And you hear things like, I love what you've done with your hair. I love pizza. I love my wife. I love chocolate ice cream. I love my grandchildren. I love my. But there's a difference, isn't there? Hopefully, I love my wife differently than I love pizza. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? And the reality is, back in the day, back in Jesus' day, they didn't have that problem. So I'll give you a quick little theology thing. Because they had different types of love that meant different things. For example, they had a word eros love from the Greek. Eros love. Eros love is romantic love. Romantic love. Can some of you remember romantic love? Anybody? It's a tough room. It's a tough room. Don't you remember falling in love? Hey, I fell in love with my wife. My wife, Cheryl, I lived in New Jersey. She lived in Massachusetts. I fell in love with her. You understand that? I was in love like this. Right? I was in love. I would have walked barefoot to Massachusetts on glass to see Cheryl because I was in love. You see? But it's real interesting. It's real interesting because that word eros, love, eros, is not mentioned hardly at all in the New Testament. Jesus hardly mentioned that. Never mentioned that at all. And there's a second type of love I want to tell you about. It's a second type of love. It's called filial love. And filial love is the kind of love that you would have for your family, for your friends, for your country. Patriotism, that's all included in that. And filial love is. And then, see, then there's the third type of love. The third type of love that has to do with marriage. It has to do with the type of love that Jesus came to model for us. And some of you know this word. It's called agape love. It's unconditional love. It's the love that God has for us. God loves us. Guess what? Guess what? God loves us when we don't love God. Isn't that good news? You see? And that's how it's supposed to be in a marriage. You know, when I first was getting married, I told people, you know how some people, especially men, I said, you know what? I have really good news. I'm getting married. You know what they would say? Are you out of your mind? Getting married, that'll wreck your life. You know, that kind of stuff, you know, just to be macho guy. But, and you know what? One guy said to me, an old guy, you know what he said to me? He said, Bill, I'm going to give you some really good advice. When you get married, guess what? There's no manual for that. You have to fly by the seat of your pants. You have to do this. You have to do... Guess what? You know what I found out? There is a manual. There is a manual. Jesus came to talk to us about marriage and every other kind of relationship. And you know what it's called? It's called the Sermon on the Mount. It's called... How about this? How about this in a marriage? Love your enemies. Return good for evil. Bless those who curse you. And anytime somebody does something and it annoys you, you love them anyway. How about that? You think that would be a successful marriage? Oh, these guys are going, I don't know about that. You see, here's the reality. Here's the reality. Jesus came to talk to us about God's love and to encourage us to do that for one another. For one another. Especially in our closest relationships. Especially when we have problems. And you see, I've come to realize this. I've come to realize this, that love, especially in a marriage, usually starts out as a really good feeling, doesn't it? You know what? When my wife and I, when Cheryl, when we were first together, guess what? We were always on the same page. If I wanted to do something, she wanted to do it. You know, if I wanted to go somewhere, she wanted to go there. You know, and it was wonderful. We were always together. And then one day something happened. We had a disagreement. Have you ever had one of those? And I'll tell you what, I remember that. I said to her, let's go to this little restaurant over here. And you know what she said to me? No, I don't want to go there. I want to go see this movie. She opened the newspaper right there. I want to go see that movie. It was like a chick flick. And I was thinking, oh my gosh. And you know what I realized then? Right then I realized, guess what? That love is not always a good feeling, is it? You know what it is? Love is a decision, isn't it? We decide to constantly love one another, even in our relationships when people annoy us. Isn't that true? How many people here have children? Imagine if you only operated on your feelings with your children. Would any of your kids be alive today? See, Jesus came to tell us that love is a decision. It starts as a feeling, but it's a decision. So let me just wrap this up. But I want Here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Hey Joe, how did that work out?
Peter, to marry is the definitive definition of the word grace. Grace is an undeserved blessing from God. Isn't that true? And let me just say this. When I was in high school, When I was in high school, my high school sophomore English teacher told me something that never left my mind. And here's what he said to a group of us boys. He said, gentlemen, let me tell you something. If it weren't for women, you guys would still be in caves beating the hell out of one another with clubs. Isn't that true? You see, they have civilized us. And I think that every man in this room, especially those who are married, would realize that their wives are an undeserved, unmerited gift from God. Is that not true? Here's the bottom line. God loves us. God loves us. He gives us everything we need to get to heaven. All we need to do is walk in it. You see?